Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is Peter. I'm back with a new show and tell. This time we'll be looking at the Citizen ProMaster Marine AquaLand Eco Drive. It has a reference number BJ2111 08E. Okay, this is one of the newest dive watches from Citizen. It is an extremely beautiful and well-made watch. It is also a very technologically advanced watch, but we'll get to that later. First of all, let's have some specifications. The glass type is mineral. The case material is steel. The strap material is polyurethane. It is very, very soft and durable, pliable. It's such a pleasure to touch. Makes me want to fondle it all day, and I am talking about the watch strap now. The movement is a solar-powered B740, the B740. It's an in-house Citizen movement. The watch is manufactured in Japan. So this watch features what you'd call the Eco Drive technology, which is recharged by any light source, never needs a battery. Now, when you hear people say that, some of you may think, but where does it put the stored power? So again, I'd like to mention that these watches do actually have a battery. It's just that you won't need to have that battery switched out every 3 years. Obviously, it stores the energy somewhere, and that's in a source of a battery anyway. Right, so it has a chronograph function, not a particularly useful one, I must say. This is the chronograph there. Excuse me a minute, I'll just use this. That's the chronograph function up there. So what happens is, when you press the chronograph button, the skeletonized blue hand starts to tick around, and every time it has gone one time around, this little hand here will go one click, and the next time it's gone around once, the big blue hand, it'll go up to 2, which means that it should actually time up to 50 minutes. It just seems a bit, I don't know, it seems a bit not particularly interesting for me to use that as a chronograph, but it has the function, it can be done. So anyway, this watch has an accuracy of plus minus 15 seconds per month. Now, in my book, I would say that that's the upper limit. It shouldn't have a discrepancy of 15 seconds per month, and I don't think it will. But that's just I think that Citizen being overly cautious. So right, it has depth measurement display, which is again the blue skeletonized hand there, the big one there, that one, which when this little thing there gets wet, it goes into dive mode automatically. I could actually show it to you now if I were to lick my finger and put it on there. Any kind of moisture, and it'll go into dive mode. Theoretically, if you're walking on a rainy day and a raindrop hits straight down on that, it'll also go into dive mode. But after nothing happens for some seconds, it'll go back to ordinary mode again. Anyway, so when you do that, that goes into dive mode, and this is the depth sensor, and that will start to record your depth. Now, this has the capability of recording up to, I think it's 10, don't hang me up on this, 10 logged dives, and it also remembers the newest dive and your deepest dive. Sorry about that, I've got a terrible cold. So, right, it has a power reserve indicator, and it has an insufficient charge warning. Now, when that happens, let's say you've left it somewhere where it hasn't seen sunlight for some time, the seconds hand, which is the little blue dial there, will start to jump by 2. So it won't go tick, tick, tick. It'll go tick and then wait 2 seconds and jump 2 seconds, which is instantly recognizable. And you need to plonk your watch into a windowsill and let it charge a bit. It has an overcharge protection function, which in layman terms just means that you can't overcharge it. If you forget your watch in the windowsill in sub-Sahara, it won't burn out the circuits in the watch. It'll just stop charging. I don't know if I haven't mentioned that the whole watch, the whole dial of the watch is solar receptors. That's where it gets its energy from. This is, in fact, like back in the 80s, those of you who remember that time, the first solar-powered calculators came out. They had that strip along the top. Well, that's what that is. Very beautifully camouflaged. Okay, it has a screw-down crown, obviously. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a dive watch. Unidirectional bezel, also very obvious indeed. Luminous hands and markers. Now, here's one of my cons on this watch, pro and cons. I'm not really impressed with the lume. Now, those of you who know me and have seen my reviews know I review a lot of Seikos. And Seikos, are the king of looms. And I'll try to show you. This is my very powerful flashlight. There you go. Now, that isn't very impressive, is it? Yeah, it's just not. It's not as impressive as Seiko would have made it. But then again, this is not a Seiko. So that's maybe one of the things I'd say was a con on this watch. Anyway, this watch is ISO certified for diving. It has a case width of 48 millimeters. The case height or depth, depending on how you like to say it, is 16 millimeters. It weighs 143 grams, and it is water resistant at 200 meters. So, with the stats aside, let's have a little look at the watch. Now, two things about this watch. I think it's a very handsome, very good-looking watch. The case feels very sturdy, very well built indeed. It has a nice feel to it. Everything is, very beautiful. You see the little, I'll show you here. Everything is very well, come on, I would love my watch to, there you go. It's a very beautiful little Citizen logo on the crown. So my point is, everything's really well made. It's also a bit confusing to look at. Now, I tend to think that many of these high-tech dive watches are a bit confusing. I think I've mentioned in another of my Citizen reviews that it feels like walking around with some kind of Stargate on your arm. When that is said, when one learns about the watch and reads about it, some of the Stargate-ness goes away from it, and you start to understand what's going on. And again, next time you look at it, you won't be so confused for so many seconds before your brain understands it. Yeah. So it's a very good looking watch. I like the blue and white. Blue is the color of water, of nature, and whereas red is the color of danger and stop up and look at this. So I like the fact that it has blue and white dials. That's interesting. The case is, as I said before, very beautiful, very well done. You can see here on the back, if I can get my telephone to focus again, there we have the ProMaster Eco Drive Citizen globe. That's this is the Citizen's equivalent of Seiko's tsunami. So that's and look at the case. It really is good looking. It's beautiful. The crown, also very, very well made. Feels very nice and very tight. No No grinding of every kind. It just turns into place. Very impressive. So, you know, those are the words on this. It's not an inexpensive watch. I'm not going to mention prices today, but you know, this is the high end of Citizen's divers, and the price reflects that. But again, you are getting a tank of a watch, and you know, state of the art. Just look at the way that thing is machined. Look at that. That's beautiful. You are getting state of the art technology, and it's way worth the money. Now, the reason I call my show and tells, I call them show and tells, is because they're not reviews, and I'm not going to go into in-depth detail with this watch. I haven't dived with this watch, so I can't, you know, talk about the functions in depth. But I've mentioned, you know, the functions that people need. And hopefully that's enough for you guys to decide whether or not you would like to give this watch a try. I would most definitely buy this if I had the money. So, you know, great watch from Citizen. There's nothing more to say about that. Anyway, I have a feeling I've forgotten a lot that I should have said about this watch. But there's, you know, that can't be helped. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and with these words, I'd like to say thanks for watching my videos, and if you like what I do, please like and subscribe. Otherwise, have a great time until we see you again. Bye-bye.